Hello students, welcome to Epitome IAS. This is Mansoor. So as a part of Ncert series, so far we have finished 2 chapters in 9th class Geography Ncert. Now in today's class we are going to see chapter number 3, and if you see this chapter number 3, in this chapter number 3 we are going to see regarding the drainage system that was present in India. Now the point here is we will be seeing the different types of rivers and the places where these rivers are originated, and from which point of source to which point of destination does these rivers will be flowing. All these things we will be seeing in this particular chapter. Right. If you see this particular chapter, again we are going to divide, or we are going to see entire river system into 2 different classifications. So first classification would be obviously the Himalayan rivers, and the second type of classification that we are going to see is peninsular rivers. Now if you see these Himalayan rivers, these Himalayan rivers are continuously flowing rivers. Why? Because the water is coming from, or the rivers would be continuously flowing because of the glaciers present in the Himalayan mountains, right. Now in peninsular India, or else the peninsular rivers, what happens? These peninsular rivers are not continuously flowing rivers, right. So throughout the year you won't be finding the same amount of water from point of origin to the point of destination, right. So only we will be seeing during the times of monsoons, these rivers would be getting a huge amount of water through the rainfall. Now we will be seeing what are the different types of Himalayan mountain rivers that we are having, and what are the different types of peninsular rivers that we are having in India. Now before going to that, we have to understand 2 different meanings, right, 2 different terminologies. The first one would be drainage basin, and the second one would be water divide. Now before that, since the name of the chapter is drainage, what is meant by drainage, right? The starting paragraph of this Ncert has been started with that particular definition. He is saying that the term drainage describes the river system of an area. What does it mean? It means that if you take any area, right, if you take a state, if you take a river, if you take a country, right, if you take the entire continent, if that particular continent or country or state is having any river, that entire river system of that particular area, that term is called as an drainage. Now if you see here, the area drained by a single river system is called as an drainage basin. Now this is the second important point which we have to understand, right. So without knowing what is by drainage and what is by drainage basin, it would be difficult to understand these geographical terms. Now what is meant by drainage basin? Drainage basin is nothing but if any area is drained by a single river, then that particular area or region is called as a drainage basin. A closer observation on a map will indicate that any elevated area such as mountains or an upland, that mountain or upland will be separating 2 drainage basins. Such an upland is called as an water divide. Now if you see this particular picture, you can see that this particular stream A and stream B has been divided by an mountain range, or by a mountain, single mountain, or by an high upland basin. Now this particular divide, or this particular division which is between the stream A and stream B, that particular division is called as an water divide, and this water divide will be dividing 2 different drainage basins of any particular area, right. This is the important point which we have to understand. Now we will be seeing the drainage system in India. So what is the condition of the drainage system that we are having in India? We will be seeing under this particular paragraph. The drainage systems of India are mainly controlled by broad relief features of subcontinent. What does it mean? It means that the features, the relief features or physiographical features which the particular country, the particular India is having, those physiographical features will be determining the entire drainage system or entire riverine system which is present in our country, right. So that is, those physiographical features are very important thing in order to determine the entire river system that is present in India. So accordingly, the Indian rivers are divided into two major groups. As I told you earlier, the first group is Himalayan rivers, second group is peninsular rivers, right. So apart from originating from the two major physiographic regions of India, Himalayan and peninsular rivers are different from each other in many ways. How? Himalayan rivers are perennial rivers. So what is meant by the perennial river? Perennial river is nothing but that river which flows continuously throughout the year, right. So basically we are dividing Himalayan rivers and peninsular rivers on the basis of the physiographical feature, right. If you see the Himalayan rivers, those Himalayan rivers are originated from Himalayan mountains, and peninsular rivers are originated in peninsular plateau, right. There we will be having Western Ghats. So through Western Ghats we can see the formation of these peninsular rivers. Some of the rivers are originated from Eastern Ghats, right. Some of the rivers are originated from Satpura range, Vindhya range, right. So majoritarily depending upon the physiographical feature, we are dividing these particular rivers, right. It means that they have water throughout the year. As I told you earlier, perennial river is nothing but the river which is having the water throughout the year. The two major Himalayan rivers, the Indus River and Brahmaputra River, originate from north of the mountain ranges. What does it mean? If you see these particular Himalayan rivers, obviously the point of origin is from the Himalayan mountains. So from where, which side of Himalayan mountains does these two, Indus River and Brahmaputra River, will be originated? From the northern side of the Himalayan rivers, northern side of Himalayan ranges. They have cut through the mountains making gorges. The Himalayan rivers have long courses from their source of origin to the sea. They perform intensive erosional activity in their upper courses and carry huge loads of silt and sand. What does it mean? So in these two lines, there is a big thing which we have to understand. So what is that? First of all, since these Himalayan mountains will be acting as an source point or originating point to these Himalayan rivers, they would be having water throughout the year. That is point number one. Now the point number two is, these rivers from the point of origin to the point of destination, what happens? They would be carrying a huge amount of sediments, huge amount of silt through those particular streams, right. So because of this continuous movement of water which is happening in this river, what happens? We will be having a huge amount of erosional activity. This is point number two which we have to understand. All these eroded sediments will get deposited at certain places. So as a result, we can see the formation of a new physiographical features like plains, right. If you see near the foothills of Shivaliks, what we can observe? We can observe alluvial fans. What is meant by alluvial fan? Alluvial fan is nothing but it is an depositional landform which was formed because of the water, the rivers. Now in alluvial forms, what will be noticed? What we can notice? We can notice that all the sediments which were eroded from point A or point B or point C in the flow of stream will get deposited at the foothills of these particular Shivaliks. So that particular zone is very rich in alluvial soils, alluvial deposits, right. So that thing we call it as an alluvial fan. Now since they are acting as an erosional agents, huge amount of erosional activity will be happening. Parallelly, all the eroded materials will form or will deposit at certain places, right. Majoritarily, if you see these particular rivers, when these rivers are going and meeting into the sea, there you can see the formation of deltas. Now what is a delta? Delta is a new landform which was created because of deposition of all the sediments which were brought by this particular river. So that is why we are calling deltas as an depositional landforms of water, right. So in this way, these rivers will be behaving in different ways, in different phases, right. All this thing we are talking regarding the phase number one. In phase number one, what happens? The young rivers would be participating in the erosional activity, In phase 2 what happens? These rivers will be entering into a new landform, right? What is the characteristic of that new landform? That new landform would be having a very less gradient when compared to the phase 1. All the phase 1 activity of rivers will happen in the mountain ranges. When they are reaching the foothills of mountain ranges, that particular river enters into phase 2. In phase 2 what happens? In phase 2 the gradient will get reduced. What is meant by reducing of gradient? Gradient reduction is nothing but the slope of that particular landform or the slope of that particular land will be decreased. There won't be high slopes. So as a result what happens? As a result the speed of the river will get reduced. Whenever the speed of the river is getting reduced, all the eroded materials will start depositing at certain places in phase 2. Right. So because of this depositional activity, we can see the formation of meanders, the formation of oxbow lakes. Now, after phase 2 what happens? After phase 2 the river enters into the phase 3. So what is the characteristic of this phase 3? In phase 3 the gradient will be even reduced, right. So most probably in phase 3 you can see the rivers entering into the plain areas, either it might be coastal plains or either it might be normal plain areas. So in plain areas the speed of the river will be very drastically reduced. So as a result what happens? You can see the formation of deltas, right. So this is the structure or this is the different phases that a river undergoes from point of origin to the point of destination, right. The same thing was given here. In middle and the lower courses of the rivers we can see the formation of meanders, we can see the formation of oxbow lakes, and we can see other depositional features that generally happens because of these different phases of rivers. Large number of peninsular rivers are seasonal rivers. Now, if you talk regarding these particular peninsular rivers, these peninsular rivers majoritarily they are seasonal rivers. So what is the meaning of seasonal river? Obviously at the point of origin the rivers will be getting this particular water because of rainfall. The rainfall might be because of orographic rainfall. If you see the Western Ghats, the place where the Godavari river and the Krishna river has originated. So the main source for the water in the river is because of orographic rainfall which happens in Western Ghats. And during monsoonal season as well we will be seeing this kind of rainfalls. So because of that particular reason we call these peninsular rivers as seasonal rivers, and their flow depend mainly on rainfall, right. During dry season even the large rivers have reduced the flow of water in their channels, and what happens? The peninsular rivers have shorter and shallower courses as compared to their Himalayan counterparts. What does it mean? It means that when there is a high season for water or when there is a high rainfall, you can see the flow of the stream would be very high, and the distributaries or the tributaries of these particular rivers would be having a sufficient amount of water. Now when there is dry season, that means when there is no rainfall, what happens? Obviously the water would be reduced, right. If you see the channels or if you see the distributaries of this particular Godavari river or Krishna river, in dry seasons you will hardly see any water in that particular river, and these particular rivers will be flowing in a very slow velocity or in a very slow speed, and you can see the shallower courses when compared to the Himalayan rivers, right. Now however some of them originate in central highlands and flow towards west, and most of the rivers of peninsular India originate in Western Ghats and flow towards Bay of Bengal. What does it mean? It means that in peninsular India you will be having mountains on three sides, right. One is Western Ghat, second one is central highlands, or the mountain ranges which are present in central part of India. The third one is Eastern Ghats, right. So, there are certain rivers which originate in Western Ghats and they would be flowing towards the eastern side and they will be joining a Bay of Bengal. And there are certain rivers in central highlands or the central mountain ranges that are present in India, and from there the river will get originated and those rivers will be travelling toward the west side and they will be joining a Bay of they will be joining Arabian Sea. And there are certain rivers which originate in Eastern Ghats and they will be joining Bay of Bengal. The point is we have to identify those rivers, right. So, this is regarding the overview of the drainage system or the drainage basin that India is having. And we have seen the two classification, first one is peninsular rivers, second one is Himalayan rivers. Now, in next class we will be seeing more detailedly about the Himalayan river system, and we will be seeing what are the rivers that originate in Himalayan mountains, and we will be seeing their point of origination and through which states they would be passing, and during their passage. So, what are the things that these particular rivers will be doing, all these things we will be seeing in next part, and we will be seeing peninsular rivers as well, right. Along with the Himalayan rivers we will be seeing the peninsular rivers. So, I hope you got this particular thing, and in next class we will be, or in next part we will be seeing the Himalayan rivers and the peninsular rivers.